guys. I figured I would go over some commander decks that I made and kind of explain why I took them apart. So let's go jump right into the first one here. I saw this video where people were like complaining about like the most hated cards in Commander, and I saw this guy and I was like, oh, let's go to make that a Commander deck, obviously, as one would think in that, situation. Actually, I have a couple reasons why I wanted to make this deck, or this guy, into a Commander deck. I was a retiring Yu-Gi-Oh player at the time. May that game rest in peace, I guess. I no longer play that game anymore, and I barely know anybody who does. But anyway, if you play Yu-Gi-Oh, like, there's a lot of cards where people summon them and they have like omni effects, I guess, and basically they get to negate something once per turn. So I saw this guy and I was like, oh, he gets to negate something once per turn. That's kind of cool. And the copy effect, that's a plus, I guess. It's also very good. Anyway, here were some cards that I played in the deck. I took this deck apart, obviously. This is in a different deck now, so let's just go through it. One thing I really cannot stand, like in any Commander games, when people take my stuff. So obviously I had to put cards like these into the deck. Like my biggest pet peeve is like any sort of theft effects, and so in the fact that I was like playing this is, goes to show what Modern does to a person, I guess. Anyway, this gets copied and you get to take 2 permanents from each player, so that's really cool. Again, Evoke the Winds, it gets doubled. Really fun card for everybody. Mindslaver, again, another card everybody likes playing against. This guy, he's alright. He was actually not very good in this deck. I ended up taking him out when I was playing him. Arcane Laboratory is just blue Rule of Law, and it makes it even better because if they go to remove it, because how people get around Progress Tyrant, Mr. Progress Tyrant here, they play some cheap spell and then they play the removal spell to get rid of it. But with this, they're like, oh, I can only play 1 spell, so they basically just can't do anything. They can play the creatures and stuff, I guess, but they can't really answer Progress Tyrant here. Mr. Progress Tyrant. This card is very fun for, mono green players, obviously, or anybody who's playing a creature deck. So, and then when it's doubled, it's even better. Pharaoh Statue, obviously you can't double it, but this card is insane. I'm still kind of shocked that this is like an actual card. Golem, again, another card that locks people out of the game when it's turboed out early. Inspector is really good in the deck, and then Darksteel Juggernaut and Thought Monitor. So anyway, after playing this deck a lot, or a couple times, it kind of dawned on me that there was something missing because I kept losing. And it wasn't because like I was out of the game really ever. It was just I would get ahead and not really have a way to actually win the game because I was so focused on making the deck as miserable to play against as I possibly could that the game just never ended. So that was one reason why I took it apart. I'm sure now I could probably just put some win cons into the deck, and it'd probably be a lot better, but it would have an actual way to win the game or whatever, some Panharmonicon combo or something. But I don't really feel like putting this deck back together because I really just didn't think it was that fun to play. Just wasn't my style of playing. I thought like, copying artifacts is cool, I guess, but like it's just not really my kind of style. I mean, I think this card is cool, but which is why I'm playing it in a different deck, but it's just really wasn't my cup of tea. Another problem this deck had was, it's kind of like the tier grid problem where like the card is incredibly annoying, but it's not like powerful. You know what I mean? Like people hate playing against them, and they kind of like come after you and try to kill you. And the problem with a deck like this is that unfortunately it just can't really keep up per se. Everybody kind of like targets you, I guess, when they see you're playing something like this, which is understandable. Like, nobody likes their stuff being countered, right? Nobody likes getting locked out of the game. And especially, if that didn't happen, I mean, have some mercy on them, because we would have been there all day playing that one game of Commander, because I have no way of actually winning the game. But anyway, this deck was not my cup of tea, and also not really pleasant to play or play against. And another thing is like bracket wise, like it would be bracket 3-ish, because I was playing like time stretch, I think, and you double that, and that obviously gives you 2 turns. And then I was playing a couple other cards. I don't know if Lion Slaver is on the game changer list. I was also playing some other stuff, but the problem with that as well is like I don't really consider the deck be like, if I was to take this deck to like a bracket 4 or something, like I would get completely clapped, because it's a 7-mana commander, and I feel like that's just kind of too much. Even with all the mana rocks I had, it was just it was still a little too slow. So anyway, that's that one. Next one was a card I saw that I thought was kind of interesting. And anyway, I used to play Modern, and one of the decks I used to play was a deck that definitely is not viable anymore, but I definitely wanted to start playing it again in Commander. That's obviously Infect. Basically, it's just a Infect tribal deck where you're just trying to, give everybody poison counters somehow. With black and green, really combat damage is kind of the only way. I'm sure there's probably other ways, but I just didn't bother figuring it out. Strapped this deck up and played like 2 or 3 games with it, and in theory I do like the deck, but I don't like the way it plays, and I don't really like the I just don't like the environment of the table when this is out, because what happens is I end up becoming arch enemy a little bit after people figure out I'm playing Infect with his effect, where I get to proliferate. So that puts everybody on a clock, obviously. So what happens is they either kind of team up on me a little bit, or they start putting creatures out, and then I just can't really, I had some pump spells, but I couldn't really beat over them or get around them. I know, like, if I was playing like blue-green, I'd be able to kind of bypass them a little bit easier, but with green and black, I couldn't really, do that. But anyway, also, it just, one board wipe and this deck is basically finished. I mean, I could cast him back again, and then they get 2 more poison counters, but I mean, basically, with any tribal deck, like, especially like one like this where it's so fragile, like, I got completely like wiped, a lot of times. So I also had some other proliferating effects. I had better ones, but this is just one of them. But yeah, these are the 2 decks that I I've played and taken apart, both for kind of similar reasons, and yeah,